Mr. Adam Thierer is the Senior Fellow for Technology and Innovation at the R Street Institute, a free market think tank. His work focuses on cultivating emerging technologies. He previously was Senior Fellow at the Mercatus Center and was President of the Progress and Freedom Foundation. Thank you, Mr. Thierer.
Chairman Issa, Ranking Member Johnson, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this hearing. My name is Adam Thierer, and I'm a Senior Fellow at the R Street Institute, where I cover emerging technology policy. My message here today boils down to one simple point. Congress needs to act promptly to formulate a clear national policy framework for artificial intelligence to ensure our nation is prepared to win the computational revolution. If we get this wrong, the consequences could be profound in terms of geopolitical competitiveness, national security, economic growth, small business innovation, and human flourishing. Unfortunately, America's AI innovators are currently facing the prospect of many state governments importing European-style technocratic regulatory policies across America. As you noted, Mr. Chairman, more than 1,000 AI-related bills are already pending across the nation. But some states are far more aggressive and influential on national market outcomes than others. Almost 50 AI-related laws are currently pending in California, and New York is currently considering almost triple that number. Sacramento and Albany should not be dictating AI policy for the entire nation. That approach is especially problematic for so-called little tech innovators who will struggle with confusing, costly compliance burdens. America would not have become the global leader in digital technology it has if we had had 50 state computer bureaus or even a single California Computer Commission allowing to license every single aspect of interstate computing and treat the internet as a regulated utility. Thankfully, America avoided that fate because of wise bipartisan decisions that this Congress made in the 1990s, which let digital technology be born free as opposed to being born into a regulatory cage. Laws like the Telecommunications Act of 1996 and the Internet Tax Freedom Act of 1998 included important provisions preempting and facilitating a national digital marketplace. The U.S. is now the global leader in almost every segment of computing and digital commerce thanks to this wise policy approach. Now is the time for Congress to work the same magic for AI by creating a national framework to prevent a patchwork of state mandates from undermining AI innovation. Colorado Governor Jared Polis has called upon Congress to preempt state AI laws, such as the one his own state passed last year, and he has even endorsed the idea of a state AI regulatory moratorium like the one Congress considered this summer. Other governors have raised similar concerns. Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont has warned of, quote, every state going out and doing their own thing, a patchwork quilt of regulations, he said. And just last week, New York Governor Kathy Hochul noted how, quote, it's hard when one state has a set of rules, another state does, and another state. I don't think that's a model for inspiring innovation, end quote. Congress could again try to implement a moratorium, or it could formally preempt specific state and local regulatory enactments that impose an undue burden on interstate algorithmic commerce. If Congress chooses the latter option, federal lawmakers should first preempt state regulations of AI frontier models because the costs associated with such regulations would outweigh any local benefits. Such rules would create spillovers and undermine development of the system the nation needs to compete globally. State officials also lack the technical expertise and information about national security matters that could be relevant to AI safety considerations. Second, for issues related to so-called algorithmic bias or AI discrimination, Congress should preempt state efforts to regulate the development of AI systems and applications through cumbersome and confusing mechanisms such as AI audits or algorithmic impact assessments. To the extent any such anti-regulations are imposed, it should be done at the federal level, and existing federal civil rights laws and non-discrimination standards should apply. Finally, Congress should also require the National Institute of Standards and Technology and the new Center for AI Standards and Innovation within NIST to oversee a new standing AI working group to coordinate and work to resolve other federal state AI policy matters. NIST and CASI could help devise more workable, consistent standards for AI policy matters not already preempted by federal law. Even where the scoping of federal preemption proves difficult, everyone should agree that AI development will be discouraged if America has dozens of different definitions of key concepts. Inconsistent standards will undermine market certainty and hurt investment, innovation, and competition. Ongoing congressional oversight of this process will be essential, and Congress can simultaneously consider what sort of new light touch rules might be necessary at the federal level to address various AI safety concerns. Meanwhile, state governments still have a role to play and will have plenty of room to act using a diverse policy toolkit of generally applicable laws to address any real-world harms that might come about from AI applications. In closing, the time has come for Congress to exercise its constitutional responsibility to protect the interstate marketplace and the national interest in the development of robust AI capabilities that will ensure the United States remains at the forefront of this technological revolution. Thank you for holding this hearing, and I look forward to any questions you may have.
And Mr. Thierer, one of the things that you touched on was the idea that Congress could explore giving NIST or CASI more authority to develop standards for AI frontier models. Would you share more on your perspective of how we might do that? Should we designate a single federal entity to try to develop those standards? Share with us a little more on your thoughts there, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. Let's be clear that the reason that NIST needs to play a role here in this new CASI body is because they have the ability to address exactly what the problem is here, which is that many states are attempting to impose a very technocratic type of design on artificial intelligence models and systems preemptively in an almost European-style way. And that's a huge problem. I'll just again quote from Governor Jared Polis, who said, "Government regulation that is applied at the state level in a patchwork across the country can have the effect to tamper innovation and deter competition in an open market." But it's not just that. These states lack the technical capability to do some of this in certain circumstances, and they lack the information needed to do it properly. We have set up this body, I should remind the committee, set up under President Biden and retained by President Trump in a bipartisan move, and just renamed to focus more on standards and innovation. That's a good plan. Once again, we have a bipartisan agreement here. We've got a new technical body, and it can handle it in conjunction with other existing policies, both federal and state.
Thank you.
I also agree, Mr. Thierer, that the EU approach is incorrect. I mean, to try and micromanage the workings of the AI system is doomed to failure, it seems to me.
Chairman. Mr. Thierer, you've written previously about California taking a European-style approach to regulation. Chairman Jim Jordan of the Full Judiciary Committee and Mr. Kiley and I were just in Europe last month talking with businesses, both European businesses and then American businesses with headquarters in Europe now, within the EU, many of them in Dublin, actually. And what they told us was that this type of ex-ante regulation where anti-competitive practices are regulated before they exist, it typically undermines or overburdens companies before they can scale, and it kills kind of a lot of the small businesses before they're up and running. And it's exactly what Europe has it's why they have no gatekeepers. We're the gatekeepers. America innovates, China duplicates, and then the EU regulates. That's kind of where we're at right now on a grand scale. So if the US were to follow the EU's model of overregulating AI before it's understanding the risks, what impact would that have on AI development and competition? Because I believe that the EU is trying to create a space for themselves, just like they are with the 7 American corporations, for the most part created in California. There's one other one called ByteDance, you might have heard of it. But, you know, now we have the EU telling us with the DMA, the Digital Markets Act, how we can function and how we can, you know, advance ourselves as an American economy. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, you've got it exactly right, Congressman. Let's actually put some numbers on this. I often, when I'm lecturing to students, leading global digital technology innovators that are headquartered in the European Union today. And I'm usually met with silence. There are a couple, but actually 18 of the 25 largest digital technology companies in the world by market cap are American-based companies. Only 2 are European. Most people can't name them. When I ask that question, most people say companies that are now defunct, like Skype. Right. And others. Innovation has died in the European Union. They've committed essentially continent-wide technological suicide with a regulatory model that is based on a sort of guilty until proven innocent mindset, where every single technology or innovation is somehow nefarious and must be bottled up and preemptively regulated. This is why, compared to the past, where the United States and Europe were very, very evenly situated in the early 90s, we went down two very different paths. And our path, our more pro-innovation, pro-growth paths, that really the Clinton-Gore administration unlocked with a Republican Congress in a bipartisan way, that yielded incredible benefits for our nation, which made us the global leader. The household names in digital technology in the European Union today are American companies. What is what is the European Union exporting on the digital technology front? Red tape. That's about all I've got left.
Mr. Thierer, I know you were supportive of the AI moratorium. Your approach failed. So now we're in this new sort of position since it's failed. I'm curious, what areas do you think Congress should regulate in? Because it's clear we're not going to preempt with nothing,
Sure.
right? What are the things that you think that would be helpful for the American innovation?
Sure. Well, first of all, Congressman, I want to thank you for your leadership on this with Representative Overnolte, with the House AI Task Force, and then also the legislation that you did mention that you sponsored on this. I think that was a good starting building block for what we can do. We've heard many other members here today talk about the sort of things that NIST could be doing, or the new CASI, which again is a carryover from the AI Safety Institute. We could take some of the ideas that are already been percolating at the state level, including in California and New York and others, to basically build upon what can be done in federal legislation. And you can combine that with other sort of targeted actions. I want to remind everyone here, people say Congress doesn't do anything. Does everybody already forgotten about the Take It Down Act? Passed overwhelmingly, right? We can take targeted approaches to this, and we can take broad approaches. The point is that we can't have the technocratic design of regulation being done in a patchwork like this, or that is going to create serious problems for American innovators as we continue to try to race against China to build out our capacity. We have to balance safety and innovation at the same time. So we do need to have some preemption. In my testimony, I spelled it out in great detail how to do this, but reserve certain powers to the states. I want to agree with the Democratic Attorney General of Massachusetts, who said, quote, existing state consumer protection, anti-discrimination, data security laws still apply to emerging technology, including AI systems, as they would in any other context. That's exactly right. States can continue to do that, but we need to have a federal framework to make sure we get this done right.
And I fully agree with you, but and I'll go to Mr. Thierer, because this is both law and policy. You mentioned a number of times ingestion versus output. Ingestion, which cannot easily be done, 50 different states and 210 different countries around the world. Isn't that also a case in which the federal government must both lead on where the standards are, particularly as to patent, copyright, other intellectual property, and in order to have a single voice speaking around the world to other countries?
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Chairman. And let's be clear, we wouldn't be here suggesting that, we should have 50 FDAs for food and drug standards, or 50 FAAs for different aviation standards by every state, such that planes had to change every state. That would be crazy, right? We don't want that model for AI either. We don't want the...
But a death by fentanyl, every state has a right to have charges.
Absolutely.
In addition
on the use
to federal.
side, and let's just be clear, let's just check off the generally applicable laws that would be exempt from either moratorium or preemption. Civil rights law and discrimination, unfair and deceptive practices and anti-fraud, competition policy laws at the state level, other consumer
In
protections.
fact, the Lanham Act actually helps the states.
We can go on down this list, and then we can get into the lawsuits. The one thing America doesn't lack is an active trial bar, right? There's going to be a lot of ongoing lawsuits, and we should throw the book at bad actors. There's always going to be bad actors regardless of technology. We have the capability to go after them.